Hey guys and gals, Space Ferrari 248 or Alex here with my first movie review. Now I know several Star Wars fans out there already have covered their take on the prequels, as well as the original trilogy, Rogue One, and The Force Awakens, but I decided that I'll give my take on all seven, eight if you count Rogue One. Considering some of the subscribers I have may not know my honest opinion or what I think of every Star Wars film ever, and since people nostalgia elitists for the most part have been saying they like the prequels better than The Force Awakens, and even sometimes more than the original trilogy, I decide I have gotten the motivation to explain in full detail why the first two prequels were absolutely boring compared to The Force Awakens and, of course, the original trilogy and Rogue One. And just to clear one thing up, just because someone has the same sense of logic as many YouTubers on here doesn't necessarily make them stupid nor bad. When did Red Letter Media's reviews suddenly make it blasphemous for someone else to review the prequels, or The Force Awakens, or the original trilogy, or Rogue One? It's not always a negative thing. When some people say some of the same things as many YouTubers or copies some profile pictures, they have only to try to be as deceivingly cool as them, then yeah, I'm not really gonna take them seriously all that much. But anyway, let's get to the review. And despite most of the famous Star Wars channels already covering this, I'm still going to express my honest opinion on every Star Wars film anyway, since most of my subscribers and, of course, my friends tend to act curious of why I love or hate specific films, TV shows, music, games, rules of sports, you name it. The reason I don't like the first two prequels isn't because of an nostalgia elitism. I mean, I was 2 years old when The Phantom Menace was released, and I was 5 years old when Attack of the Clones came out, and I was 8 years old when Revenge of the Sith came out. And I was 5 years old when the worst Star Wars was ever released. I was never alive when the original trilogy was made. I was, however, shown to it when I was, younger than 2. I do remember that. I also find it funny how even when I was younger than 1, younger than 3, my bad. Or was it 4? I don't know. Younger than 4 or 5 or whatever. I would take the VHS tape out after the pod racing sequence. I felt like I liked it, but it's like my heart was trying to tell me I actually didn't like it and only liked it for the pod racing. And the duel between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and against Darth Maul. And obviously the soundtrack, of course. The soundtracks for the Star Wars prequels always made me want to like the films. John Williams really can blow it away even when I'm watching the first two boring-ass prequels. John Williams' score is the diamond on the rough. He's a pure legend. He's like the Eddie Van Halen of Star Wars, or Jimi Hendrix. Of course, when we all watched the prequels, the things that made us like them were the space battles, the lightsaber fights, video games, the soundtrack, the toys, the Legos, etc. But as I grew older, when I was 15 or 16, I grew out of the first two prequels, and in a way, the Revenge of the Sith. While I still enjoy Revenge of the Sith, I stayed with the original trilogy, and Revenge of the Sith was the only decent prequel. However, I like the 2D Clone Wars series too. I thought I would like all the Star Wars movies, but of course, I unfortunately years later, after all the prequel movies, my love for the first two faded a lot and didn't care anymore. I wiped the nostalgia fog off my goggles and started to realize and appreciate what really makes a good movie. Anyway, since I know there's some friends and even big YouTubers I'm a fan of that are new to this saga, Undertaker Freak 1127, let me just say Star Wars never intended to release the prequels in the first place. They never labeled Star Wars A New Hope as Episode 4. Hell, it wasn't even titled as A New Hope. It was just called Star Wars, its first release. It wasn't Episode 4, 5, and 6 because they were going to do a prequel trilogy 20 some odd years later. Star Wars always intended to be a trilogy long storyline. Forget that I almost said original. My bad. Alright, let's talk about the beginning of the movie. So far, I have no idea what's going on. Who are the bad guys? Who are the good guys? Is the triplet engine frigate or the Republic frigate friends with that round C-shaped ship? Or enemies? Why are they going in there? What the hell's going on? I need to know who to root for or who to fear against. I'm not at all going to be interested in Qui-Gon or Obi-Wan Kenobi swinging their lightsabers at the droids gaining easy kills when I still don't know who to root for or against. Then again, 90% of the movie was a green screen or blue screen, so it was more than likely Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor were directed to just randomly swing their lightsabers and use the Force at random-ass times. Which I assume this is the reason why the prequel trilogy exists in the first place, so George Lucas can try to wow everyone with an insane amount of CGI in the film. I mean, why else would George Lucas release these special editions for the Star Wars original trilogy with unnecessary CGI edits into them? Most of these characters just seem dead inside. Listening to them, especially listening to Queen Amidala, makes me feel like I'm listening to a robot. Or Magpie from My Little Pony, or even worse so, Kristen Stewart. If you guys think Kylo Ren sucks, tell me what makes Darth Maul so great. He only spoke 3 or 4 sentences in the entire film and does nothing but stand and walk around with an evil look on his face, and of course dueled against both Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan on Naboo. That's it. He was never given anything else to do. Actually, now that I think about it, he wasn't given anything at all other than lightsaber duels and a double-sided lightsaber as a method to make the fanboys piss themselves. There was no memorable quotes from Darth Maul. There was no, "You don't know the power of the dark side." There was no, "Impressive. Most impressive. You failed me for the last time." And there was also no, "You need a teacher. I can so show you the ways of the Force. That lightsaber, it belongs to me." Or Kylo Ren screaming, "Traitor!" Darth Maul didn't do any of that stuff. And he didn't even say stuff like, "I will finish what you started." No memorable quotes can be put up as a poster or on your wall or bumper sticker on your car from Darth Maul. Nothing memorable at all. This is just like Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Of course he's trying his best to act in his scripts, but he's barely given anything to do other than stand around, walk, talk, and just be given boring-ass dialogue. Obi-Wan Kenobi, well, actually, Ewan McGregor is a great actor. He does his best to act in every script he's given, but of course the only thing he's given is boring-ass dialogue. And to walk around, sit on couches and other shit. And other than that, he just swings his lightsaber at droids, and his duel between Darth Maul, of course, that's one of the only best scenes in the movie, as I already said several times. The cast, however, I can say is great, though. Natalie Portman, Ewan McGregor, Liam Neeson, Ian McDiarmid, who played the Emperor in Return of the Jedi, Samuel L. Jackson, and yes, even Jake Lloyd. And so much more. And sure, Darth Maul may look cool and evil, and with that look on his face along with the double-sided lightsaber, but he barely impressed me. He barely did any evil shit. The only kill, of course, he got in the entire film was Qui-Gon Jinn, a Jedi he dueled against. Sorry, but the evil face paint and the double-sided lightsaber doesn't make up a lack of personality or character. I also find it funny how characters that have the least amount of dimension are supposedly the most memorable to prequel fans due to the lightsabers. Darth Maul? Boring? Check. Double-sided lightsaber? Check. There, he's fixed. Apparently, for Mace Windu. Boring? Check. Let me fix that with a purple lightsaber. Check. General Grievous? Boring? Well, not really so much, but he's a joke of a character. Forearms of the lightsabers? Quadruple check. There, we fixed it all. It's like George Lucas knew these characters were going to be bad, so he tries to make it up by making them supposedly the most memorable lightsaber handlers. Here's why Darth Vader and Kylo Ren are better. First off, let's start off with A New Hope of how the Empire and Darth Vader demonstrated their evil. Star Destroyer attacks a rebellion blockade runner in pursuit to get the stolen Death Star plans. The stormtroopers raid the blockade runner, killing the rebels. Darth Vader force chokes the captain of the ship and to try to find out where the stolen Death Star plans are. Stormtrooper stuns Princess Leia and brings her to Darth Vader for interrogation. That shows the good guys are the rebels, aka the blockade runner, Princess Leia, those two droids, and the bad guys would be Darth Vader, stormtroopers, that Star Destroyer, officers, and we were only 10 minutes into the film and we already know who to root for and who to fear against. Now let's talk about The Force Awakens, which gets a lot of hate for whatever reason. Stormtroopers raid a village and set shit on fire. Kylo Ren kills Santeca, demonstrates his strong force abilities by stopping a bullet in midair, interrogates and captures Poe to gain info about where the map to Luke Skywalker is so he can destroy the Last Jedi. So in both the sequel and original trilogy, when we were only 10 minutes into both films, they demonstrated to both of us who's evil and who's good. The bad guys in The Force Awakens who were these stormtroopers and Kylo Ren, and so far the good guys that were shown to us were Poe Dameron, if that's how you pronounce his name, BB-8 Santeca, I think that's his name. These villagers. The Force Awakens may have been supposedly too similar to A New Hope, but at least J.J. Abrams knows his audience and doesn't overdose the movie with too much CGI to try to wow us. Overdose us with filler politics, and of course, at least he didn't put a Nickelodeon-like character in The Force Awakens. Jar Jar Binks, but I'll get to him, in a few seconds or minutes into this review. So how exactly could anyone with a brain say The Force Awakens was worse than Jar Jar Binks? With The Phantom Menace, nothing like that is demonstrated. So that's why I say, J.J. Abrams, thank you for redeeming Star Wars. We needed that. It isn't even until the first few scenes on Naboo where the only character, which is the worst character that isn't boring, is shown where the movie goes into depth about. We knew his backstory, his feelings, his motivations, but that still didn't make up his character nor the whole movie. Jar Jar Binks is annoying and childish as shit.
Binder. If your hand gets caught in the beam, it's gonna go numb for hours.
Well, Jar Jar's brain was numb and flat throughout the entire movie, Anakin. Who even had the idea of Anakin as a kid? Obi-Wan in Return of the Jedi didn't even say anything about him being a kid, not to mention Obi-Wan never saw Anakin's demonstrations of how he was ever supposedly a good pilot in Episode 1. Okay, maybe you could say off-screen he was told that he was a great pod racer or whatever. That even ruined Jake Lloyd's career. I'm not going to go too deep to why Anakin's characters supposedly suck in Episode 1, because Jake Lloyd was innocent in this case. He doesn't deserve any hate at all. He wasn't in charge of the directing or script, so anybody still giving him shit, please give him a break and leave him alone. Jar Jar smelling a fart. Really? you're going this far with all this crude nonsense? Yeah, this movie is going way too far to try to make us laugh rather than trying to make a good story film. Seriously? The pod racing is really fun and intense to watch, but unfortunately it doesn't have all that much substance. Just like the space battle and gunfight against the droids, they were extremely fun to watch, but it lacked substance, emotion, and tension. In investment, there was no meat on these bones. And as for the Gungans' battle against the droid army, stupidity and Jar Jar kind of ruins it. Even the Ewoks from Return of the Jedi didn't have any cartoony or crude behavior like Jar Jar. Droid Army is a cool idea, and let me clear up one thing: anything I say about the character or scenes in the film, I'm talking about the movie, not the books, not the video games, not the EU or whatever. You need good film characters, good film stories, where you shouldn't even open up a fucking book. Let me just say this: just like Terminator 3 and Rise of the Machines, Alien 3, Resurrection, and AVP, no one needs those films to make the franchises good. The fans of Terminator pretend the sequels don't exist in the Terminator universe. Judgment Day was already so concluding to the Terminator story. Same with Aliens. The fans of those franchises ignore the sequels to the second installments to those films because those sequels to those fans, and myself included, felt like it was just fan fiction brought to life. It's the same damn thing with the prequel trilogy. We all feel like it was just fan fiction brought to life, only to try to impress us with digital effects. No one needs that shit to complete our Star Wars universe. Just like how we didn't need Terminator 3 to complete our Terminator universe. The prequel trilogy, the sequels to the second installments of Terminator, and the Alien franchise were only there to milk the franchise, just like the prequel trilogy. At least that's what it mostly seems. Then again, if it wasn't for the prequels, I wouldn't have the amazing soundtrack from those films. Duel of the Fates, Panica and the Protectors, The Tide Turns, Across the Stars, and Battle of the Heroes are the best tracks in any of those prequels at all.
They must be dead by now. Destroy what's left of them.
What? You destroyed the frigate and supposedly gassed the Jedi. What is there to destroy what's left? And since they were mentioning dying villagers in Naboo, I wish they could have at least shown to what the deaths looked like. I wish they could have shown some destruction on the surfaces of Naboo to show the consequences of the war. I mean, in A New Hope, it even showed Luke's dead aunt and uncle by the hands of the Empire, Princess Leia held captive, the destruction of Alderaan, the threatening of the destruction to Yavin 4. And as for The Force Awakens, the stormtroopers raid a village, the destruction of the temple was shown. The Starkiller base destroys 5 systems at once. I wanted to see more of the evil stuff in the Phantom Menace, to show what the Trade Federation is capable of. I wanted them to demonstrate their fearfulness. They could have cut out all the boring-ass political crap which I will get to later. You could have just left the clip of Queen Amidala saying, "Congratulations on your election, Chancellor," and just let it at that. And shown more of the evil stuff, as I mentioned earlier. It was good cinema photography, but it lacks story, character, and emotion. Naboo looks gorgeous. Coruscant looks beautiful, a city planet, which is something we never saw in the Star Wars movie until The Phantom Menace. The Trade Federation ships, Naboo starfighters, droid starfighters, AATs, all look cool as fuck. And who could forget the haunting noise from the droid starfighters? It has good cinema photography and sound effects, but like I said, I'm not emotionally engaged in the story. Darth Vader builds C-3PO? That's absolutely ludicrous. Do you people even watch the original trilogy before making this film? That's a really forced connection. But Obi-Wan, didn't Darth Maul have the high ground?
Wipe them out. All of them.
And then take them as prisoners? Who the fuck programmed these droids? They are worse than stormtroopers. At least stormtroopers would shoot.